Thanks, everybody, for joining our Chico State alumni panel. To introduce myself, my name's Corinne Cross. I'm a corporate recruiter with Beacon Hill Staffing Group.
Well, hello, everyone. What do we got? 3 people on here right now? How many people do we got? 3?
It's a mystery. They're coming in masses.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Cronin. I graduated from Chico in 2014. I got my degree in business information systems with an emphasis in management information systems. I worked on campus in the BMU at the deli. It's probably one of my favorite jobs. But I was also in the business fraternity, and I don't know, my fun fact, one of my favorite things about Chico was I love the campus. It's an absolutely beautiful campus walking through with all the bricks. So every time I go back up and visit, that always brings back good memories. And I'm the recruiting manager for our San Francisco office. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Hi, guys. My name is Kristen. I graduated last year, so 2019. I studied business administration with an emphasis in marketing. And I also went through the Seifelin sales program and got my professional sales certificate as well. Like Connor, I worked on campus. I worked in the Career Center actually all 4 years. And also like Connor, I loved that job. I think it's the best job on campus. I'm a little bit biased, but that was my first exposure to the recruiting industry and staffing as a whole. We were putting on all the career fairs and everything. So it was a great experience. My favorite part about my Chico experience in general was just the lifestyle, being able to walk to class, walk to work, walk to the gym, walk to your friend's house, the farmer's market. Definitely something I took for granted. I know things are probably different right now with COVID, but I just think Chico's the perfect college town. So currently I am in our Sacramento office and I'm a staffing consultant.
What attracted you to staffing and how does it relate to your undergrad experience at Chico? So we'll go ahead and get started with Connor.
Yeah, I think mine's a little unique where my degree was in, it was like half business, half IT. I didn't really know what to do with it when I was going to graduate. I kind of made the decision I didn't want to be in IT. And I wanted to get into sales because I really like that competitive nature of it and I want to make a lot of money. So that was like the biggest thing that attracted me was there's uncapped commission. There's a lot of, you can grow quickly within the company. And then, with my degree, I thought it paired up really well. And in the end, I'm glad I made that decision because for me, not very many people have an IT degree in our industry, but I think it helped me accelerate in the recruiting role a lot faster than some other people. So
yeah, there were a few different avenues. I mentioned my kind of initial curiosity and exposure to the industry. I really like the thought of being able to put all of the education and sales, business, marketing that I had just worked 4 years for to use. And it is a super competitive environment, but like Connor mentioned as well, just to backtrack, I did an internship in product sales where it was much more transactional. I was actually selling power tools, so totally different. And you would have customers and you would kind of get to know them, but it truly was almost new people every single day. And I knew the staffing industry through the interview process was a much more personal process and not just short-term relationship building, but long-term relationships. I have candidates now that I've been working with for over a year, and I know their birthdays, I know what's going on in their life, and I think that just adds a lot more fulfillment to the role, and specifically in our SAC office too. I went through the interview process with our division director, Brian Verdusco, and he made it really clear from the start that my success was his success. And coming right out of college, I wanted to make sure I was in an environment where I was going to be supported and pushed and encouraged. And I think that's just really held on to be true. So that was really important to me. And like Connor mentioned too, the financial freedom after college and being able to kind of make your own success is huge. So it really was like a big package deal.
Awesome. Well, to help everybody better understand the jobs that you two do, we'll start with Connor. Can you tell us about your specific role and also a recent placement or success?
Yeah, no, I'm the recruiting manager for our San Francisco office. So I'm in charge of the recruiting team. We have a sales team and then a recruiting team. We deliver on the candidates, the salespeople. Obviously they're the ones that are out building the relationships and selling our staffing services. But anyway, so I manage that team. I do a lot of the initial training as well when you guys first come in, especially for this first 6 to 8 weeks before we transition you over to a salesperson to help mentor you towards, the ultimate goal to get into sales. But that's my role here. Actually hired Corinne and trained Corinne. So
I was going to say that.
It's a lot of fun watching and mentoring and seeing you guys, or seeing, everyone out of college progress. It's crazy how fast people, pick things up and eventually get going. So it's a lot of fun to see that happen.
Is the training process. So we'll have Connor touch on it from like managerial perspective, how you train your new hires. And then Kristen will talk about going through the training. So we'll get started with Connor.
Yeah. So we're really big on, we're not like big on a classroom setting or anything like that. It's a lot of on-the-job training, but we do have the first 8 weeks laid out, kind of not hour by hour, but the first couple weeks we do. But once you guys get kind of rocking and rolling after a couple weeks, you're able to be a little more independent. But the first couple weeks are a lot of shadowing of myself and other staffing consultants, and getting out on the road maybe a little bit with the salespeople to see their job. But a lot of it's just seeing how we interact with candidates and paying attention to the conversations we have. But once we get midweek through the first week, you guys will eventually hit the phones. But training's every single day. I mean, we role play every single day before you go home. You guys practice it at home. We have weekly report meetings every Tuesday to go over your previous week and then set your goals for the next week that's ahead of us. The training it's ongoing, it's constant. You're always role playing, even when you get up to the next level, in a manager role or a lead or something like that. You're constantly learning. That's one of the nice things I really love about Beacon Hill.
From a new hire perspective, about a year ago, I guess now, though, that I really enjoyed and kind of that was refreshing with the training for me was that we were given all of the tools in the room to succeed and fail at the same time, which was really important for me. And what I mean by that is you can watch all those videos, you can look through every PowerPoint, but until you're jumping in and doing it and making the calls, that's when things really start to click, and that's when you're really learning. And we were given the freedom and the room to mess up and understand that you're going to leave some voicemails that you cringe at yourself at, and that's okay. And I think a lot of people that are high achieving in college and a bit of a perfectionist like myself, straight out of college, you're kind of scared to jump in and go for it. So having an environment where you can find your own voice in recruiting and you're really supported, especially because people like Connor have all been in our situation to start with, was just really awesome. So very supportive, hands-on, but giving you the room to kind of do your own thing and figure out your own stride. So
thing I was excited to hit on with you guys was just career growth. So we'll have Connor start this. I know you've been in the industry longer as well, but the job you started in and where you're at now.
Yeah, I started out, the exact same role as a staffing consultant. We in San Francisco, and I can speak for Portland and Sacramento as well. They're in our regions here. We really only hire for the outside sales role. The account executive position. We start everyone out in the staffing consultant role, mainly so you can learn the business, how it operates, how it works, the lingo. Everything you do, it's really weird as a recruiter. It directly translates into sales. I think recruiting, especially in the agency world that we live in, it is a sales role. You're convincing people to take a job over someone else's. But anyways, everything that you do in that role it directly translates to the sales position, which is what we hire for. So not to say that you can't stay in recruiting, but that's not really where our needs really fall. But that's the next step out of the recruiting role. We have a senior account executive position that's after that. And then if you want to go beyond, which again, we're always looking for future leaders. There's a lot of markets we still need to get into. Our San Francisco and Portland and Sacramento offices are still smaller. We'll need multiple leaders there. But, from there, you can get into the it's a managing consultant role, which essentially you call it like a lead sales position. And you'll have a smaller team, maybe one or two account executives under you. And you are bonused off of their success as well. So, that's kind of alluded to what Kristen said is, your success is also my success is also based off of yours. So I want, we're all in it together. But after that, you go up to it's a business development manager role, sales manager, maybe you hear is more common term, but they oversee a sales team. So it's probably a lot larger than 2 or 3. And then beyond that is a division manager, division director, which oversees the recruiting efforts and the sales efforts of a market. And then after that, as you move up, is a regional role, which you'll oversee multiple offices from there. And there's a similar kind of path for recruiting as well. But again, we mainly look for the sales folks. That's how we grow, and that's that's how our business gets it gets bigger. And sometimes people stick with some people stick with recruiting. It just kind of depends, but majority of the people like to be out there selling and interacting with clients. So that's the career path, that we have here. And there's a lot of other ones too, that we like, national account executives, which are essentially, sales managers that oversee a large account. They have multiple big hubs across the country. So there's a lot of opportunity. And as we get bigger at Beacon Hill, new roles kind of pop up. There's some positions maybe that we need right now that we don't have, just because we're not big enough for it yet, or whatever the case is. So there's a lot of opportunity for that, especially on the West Coast. We have some big markets we haven't even broken into yet.
So my answer is probably a bit shorter. I've only been here just a year, but in terms of the path to promotion and the growth, I've been supported every step of the way. So I'm one of those one-off individuals in our office who have chosen to stick with recruiting. I'm really lucky that I've been supported in that too, because we definitely need AEs and salespeople to help grow our business in Sacramento. But the next step for me in that path would be a senior staffing consultant and taking on a few more leadership responsibilities. So I'm working directly with my supervisor and my division director weekly, if not daily, to see where I'm at in my own personal goals. And something too is we're talking about professional goals and getting to that next milestone all the time, but we're also talking about personal goals and what financial marks are going to help me get there in my personal life, which I just think is not happening at every other company or organization where we're targeting milestones to buy a house or other like aspects of financial freedom, which is really nice. So
what is your favorite part of your job just in your day-to-day?
Yeah, mine might sound a little cliche, but I know a lot of my friends can't say this at the companies they're at is definitely the people. We are at least in San Francisco, it's still relatively small. I think we have like 12 or 13 now, but it's definitely the people you work with every single day. I consider them, actually all of them like, friends, which I know a lot of people can't say.
Yeah, you guys are spot on. People is definitely number one. Even one of my coworkers, I think, is going to be in my wedding, which I just never expected. So we're super close. But to kind of switch it up a bit, one of my other favorite parts about the job is that in a year and a half now, almost, I've never been bored. I've never watched the clock. It's almost the opposite. Like 5 o'clock comes up too soon, and there's so many other things I can do, which sure can get busy and stressful at times, but I would choose that any day of the week. And every single day, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who you're going to speak to. Everyone from different walks of life, different ages. They all have different backgrounds and stories. And I think it's just exciting and not the same old thing every day.
Wanted to hear from both of you about a favorite either office or Beacon Hill at large tradition.
So one of the big traditions we do here is it's called Top of the Hill, and at the end of every year, it's for your top performers in the recruiting or the sales role. But what we do is all your top performers, they rent a limo, or we rent a limo, and load it up with some champagne. Everyone gets $1,000, and you get the limo, I think, for like 4 or 5 hours. And so in the city, it was super fun. We went across the Golden Gate Bridge, came back, went and balled out, and had a super expensive lunch, and then went to the mall and went on like a shopping spree. So that is it was the first time I got to go last year for that. So that was super fun and definitely a tradition that like I want my whole team with me next time because we just had such a blast. It's kind of fun just to go spend money recklessly.
My favorite Beacon Hill tradition is definitely the holiday party. It was so hyped up before I started, and all these companies have some version of a holiday party, but until you're there, it's hard to kind of understand that your expectations are just blown away. And Boston is such a cool city. All of your Beacon Hill colleagues from 50 something offices are there. You're celebrating their achievements from the year. And Beacon Hill just takes care of its employees in such an unbelievable way. Even like you get to bring your significant other. My boyfriend was shocked and his expectations were blown away too. So they just go all out for their employees, and it's an awesome city, just an awesome way to close out the year.
But would love to have you try to describe your Beacon Hill experience in one word.
No, challenging. The reason why is, I was part of one of the first people that opened up our San Francisco office. So it was challenging coming in and starting from scratch, having a laptop and that was it essentially. And then, building an office and finding office space. So, and also recruiting and hiring. So it's been a big challenge that I wanted. But I think that's probably the best way to describe so far, which has been positive. It's been a great thing.
I am going to go with impactful, just on so many levels. Impactful on me, impactful on the candidates we work with, my family, my financial freedom right out of college.
Something we recognize important to address. Some of you are wondering, why do companies use staffing firms to begin with? So for Beacon Hill, we work with clients from Fortune 500 companies all the way down to startups. We connect with clients in various industries like real estate, nonprofit, law firms, banks, advertising agencies, just to name a few. We take on the burden and risk of a full-time employee, as these temporary or contract workers are being paid through Beacon Hill as a W-2 employee. So if they need unemployment or benefits, that comes from Beacon Hill. That's also why, as a staffing consultant, you're continuously communicating with your candidates who are on an assignment. You're essentially their manager or their HR rep, giving them updates, feedback, and everything of that nature. So to go through an example of like a temp or contract placement, like for example, our associates division could see more short-term contracts in their day-to-day. They could get a call in the afternoon for a client who needs a new receptionist for that next morning. And they're going to cover for 1 or 2 days or something extremely short-term. And then on the other end, we've got technologies, finance divisions. They tend to be more long-term contracts, ranging between 3 to 6 months, could be 1 to 2 years, or just ongoing. So given the nature of these candidates and specialized skill sets, clients come to Beacon Hill to find the most qualified candidates who have the skills and the bandwidth ready to jump right into a project. So there's probably tons we can share about our positions. Would love to check and see if we've got any questions coming in. Oh, this is a good one. I'll kick it to Connor, especially because you interview candidates and hire for your team. So besides hardworking, what would you say is a major quality that someone needs to be successful at Beacon Hill?
Yeah, number one is positive attitude. Definitely, for sure. That was something. It's kind of funny. I always like to relate it back to this, but from Chico, was my little deli manager in there. I was having a bad attitude for a few weeks, and she was like, "Connor, no one wants to buy a sandwich from someone who has a bad attitude." But that really like resonated with me. It sounds so stupid, but that was something like I learned my lesson with that, and it was cool to come to a place that also valued having a positive attitude, and how dramatic it can dramatically affect how you're doing in work and just your personal life in general. So that's one of the biggest things we look for. People that have that positive attitude are going to be able to overcome some of the rougher times or the harder times when it's easy to be negative or have a bad attitude. But that's one of the top qualities besides, hardworking or one of those other cliche ones, that we definitely look for. Another one I wanted to really add on there too, that we look for is how, being competitive, is super, super important. Like, you have to hate to lose, just cause it is a very competitive industry. And you are, we're not selling a product, right? You're selling yourself. So when you have 10 other, agencies that are working on a position or 10 other recruiters that are calling, a really good candidate. You've got to be able to stand out somehow. And, you just have to have that edge that you don't like to lose. So those are really those are probably the top two things that I think are important.
Yes, very true. So I tell candidates, we're helping people find jobs. We're finding managers, new employees. You have to be motivated by relationships. And the other side of it, you've got to be financially motivated. You've got to be competitive. Like Connor said, you have to want to win. I think for this to be fun and for you to really thrive here. I know, Kristen, if you would agree, or other qualities that you think really set somebody apart here.
I totally agree. I think those are probably the two most important. There's so many that go into our job. I could add one more. I think resilient is a big one, just because the industry, like Connor mentioned, I think you did too, lots of highs and lows. There are things where you work really hard, but we're dealing with people. So at the end of the day, some things aren't in your control, and you kind of have to be able to ride those highs and lows and still be motivated at the end of the day to start anew and get after it. So resilience is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you ride the ups and downs in our industry. You got to maintain a level head to see the success, essentially. It won't happen from day one. But I loved knowing that the hardest worker in any room at Beacon Hill is going to be earning the most. And they probably have the best reputation in the industry, in their market. So that was huge. I think that's it on questions. Okay, let's see. One that's a little bit more Chico related. Kristen, you can start this one off. Did you have a favorite activity, class, thing that you did at Chico that you feel like prepared you for Beacon Hill? Or campus involvement?
I know how to have fun. Chico definitely helped me with that. But I have to go back to the Career Center. I just got exposure to so many different things. Putting on the career fairs, I was working with so many different companies, so many different recruiting firms in general too. I also worked on our handshake application towards the end of my senior year, so I was posting all the jobs on there, and I'm biased, but that's also why I chose Beacon Hill. I was working with so many different recruiting agencies, and my whole experience from start to finish, even before I was interviewing with the company, was top notch. So Career Center, I highly recommend. I know they're doing virtual appointments these days, but get in there as early as possible because the advisors are awesome.
I love it. What about you, Connor? Anything you feel like really prepared you for Beacon Hill?
Well, my favorite class was fall dance and swing dance. But anyways, no, I think what really prepared me, at least for just like the job market or just getting my kind of butt into shape, was the business fraternity, at least for me. I think being a part of something in general, some sort of society or whatever in college will help with that. But it definitely kind of shaped me up as far as, getting a suit ready, getting your resume prepared. And, I was going to those career fairs sophomore year, right? Just, having that, kind of, people behind me pushing me to do that stuff definitely helped propel me. My senior year, I had 12 job offers. I was ready to go. I had so much fun interviewing because of that. So I think being part of a society or something like that, or a Greek life or something, definitely was a big plus for me.
Yeah. And I tell candidates too, they're like, what major do you guys require? What background do I have to have? What I loved about Beacon Hill, you didn't have to fit a certain mold or have had a certain experience to interview or get a job here. I usually tell people, well, what have you done? Have you worked retail? Because retail is crazy. You worked in a restaurant. You worked for tips. You've babysat and tried to make your own money on the side. I think our industry and jobs are very entrepreneurial. Like, you're building your own little business within Beacon Hill. So that's a good thing too. If you're interviewing or you're considering it, you don't have to fit a certain mold. I think there's a way to look at what you've done and apply it to what we do. So I love it. Okay. I think that's all of our questions. We wanted to give a huge thank you to Connor and Kristen for participating, attendees for joining. Anyone interested in applying for our positions, you can reach out to me directly. So my email address will be provided in the follow-up survey when you exit out of the events.